speech. Pathos, or the use of emotions, is used often in order to not only make the audience listen more carefully, but to also get them emotionally involved, swaying them towards his cause. Chavez, in fact, starts this speech off with this terrible story about a tragic accident that involves some farm workers. Quote, "On a lonely stretch of railroad track, paralleling Highway 101 just south of Salinas, 32 farm workers lost their lives in a tragic accident. They died when their bus, which was a converted flatbed, drove in front of a freight train. Most of the bodies lay unidentified for days. No one, including the grower who had hired them, even knew their names." Not only is this story a tragedy and plays to people's emotions, but it's also a great attention getter to start the speech. Logos is used by Chavez throughout the speech as well. Logos, using logic and common sense, Chavez paints the reality that Hispanics and farm workers are becoming a part of society, that they're moving up into positions of power, and that this is just the reality of it all. He goes on to explain that in many cities in California, like Modesto, Bakersfield, cities in the Imperial Valley, around the year 2000 to 2010, will be, quote, "dominated by farm workers and not by growers, by the children and grandchildren of farm workers, not by farm growers." Also, he mentions that in 1974, there were just 200 Hispanics that held office in California. But by 1984, again, there were 400 who held elected office. Chavez just wanted to illustrate that the number of Hispanics was beginning to grow and move up in society. Finally, Chavez uses repetition throughout his speech. He often repeats the first few words of a sentence in order to drive his point deep into the audience's mind. Here in the speech, Chavez is addressing the bad decisions that growers have made and how they should be held accountable for their bad decisions, not the farm workers. Quote, "We didn't poison the land. We didn't open the door to imported produce. We didn't abuse and exploit the people that work the land." As you can see, this repetition can become very powerful. So now that we've discussed and seen some ways that Chavez used communication concepts to make his speech more powerful, let's move on to see his legacy and why he inspires us. Ashley?
Now I will tell you how Cesar Chavez inspired us today. Cesar Chavez's goal was to ultimately inspire people, and yet he accomplished that goal, and today we are telling you how he inspired us. There is now a foundation in his name called the Cesar E. Chavez Foundation to inspire current and future generations by promoting the idea of Cesar's life, work, and vision. Not only did he do a lot for other people when he was alive, but now, as he is no longer with us, he is still someone we appreciate to this day. There is now a school in Coachella named after him. He inspired many people. He was also known to Hispanics as the Martin Luther King Jr., which we all know that means it must have been someone pretty great, and that he was. Cesar Chavez inspired all of us to become better leaders for ourselves. For if it was not for him, we would not all be treated fairly in our working conditions today. He was an inspiration to us individually because he was only an 8th grade graduate who had to work on the fields, and he became somebody today by sharing something he knew would change the world and make it a greater place. He was truly a great inspirational American.
As a review of what we have discussed today, let me summarize my main points. Cesar Chavez was a great leader. His speeches were very significant. He demonstrated great communication concepts and inspired many of us. And he was victorious. Cesar Chavez left our world better than he found it, and his legacy inspires us still. He was for his own people in Moses' figure. In fact, many say that the farm workers who labored in the self-sufficiency pinned their hopes on this remarkable man, who with faith and discipline, soft-spoken humbleness, and amazing inner strength, led a very bold and brave life. Remember that all things are possible. And if he was able to speak out to his community and then the nation, then you can surely make a difference as well if you have the desire, the passion to change the world. Together, we can do it. Sí se puede. Thank you.